Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. Dr. Afzal is here, and today in this session we are going to discuss that what is SLR and how we should conduct it. SLR is very important, as we know that it plays a very important part in our survey paper, in our literature, or any scientific paper, because we have to get all insight from these literature, the data which we have collected from the literature. We then we utilize this data, then we visualize this data, and somewhere we summarize and report this data. So if we are going to miss anything in the SLR, definitely our survey paper would not be good, our literature section would not be good, and definitely if we are going to write any scientific paper, or we are going to propose any solution to further any gap, then definitely this will miss something. This will not be sound, because we have already missed some related data. There may be some related idea, there may be some related gaps. So it is very important to have a comprehensive systematic literature review. So what is SLR? How we can define the SLR? We can define the SLR by three words, that we are going to identify the topic. To identify the topic with every aspect. What is the topic, what are its limitations, what are its applications, and what are its potential, the technology which are used in this topic or in this area, and definitely the people, the scientists who are working, the laboratory or universities who are investigating this topic. So you have to know all these things in detail, and definitely getting the data and identifying all that data. Then we have to evaluate this data. We can evaluate this data for number of parameters, because we define these parameters according to a research article, according to our exploration. And definitely then we synthesize, we tubularize, we visualize and summarize this data. SLR must be comprehensive, as I discussed earlier, that because our idea depend on that SLR, depend on that literature. So if we miss anything in the literature, then our idea would not be good. We would not be able to reach the specific gap which we want to investigate. And definitely if there is some related idea, or any other person who is investigating the same gap, then there is no need to put effort in the same gap, give time to the same gap, because this has already been discussed, this has already been investigated. And if we are going to investigate this gap again, we must consult the papers which are already discussing these things. Another thing about the SLR, that we should be unbiased in the literature collection. For example, there is any author, we don't like this author, but he has written, he has published on the same topic, he has proposed something, he has proposed any idea, proposed or project there. Then it doesn't mean that we are not going to cite this person, or it doesn't mean that we will ignore this person. Definitely, similarly, if there is any article, there is any other proposal, and we think that if we cite this proposal, if we refer this proposal, this can lead to embarrassed question in proposal defense. And due to this reason, you are not going to include this like proposal or this like article. That this is also a biasness, and we have to avoid all the biasness. Either it is from the person, either it is from the study. So we must be careful, our study must be comprehensive. And the next thing is that our study, our literature collection, our SLR must be collected with a systematic approach. Systematic approach means that we have to follow certain rules, we have to follow certain methodology which we developed before conducting our literature or starting collection the literature. Literature collection doesn't mean that we open our laptops, we go to the Google Scholar and other libraries, and we start collecting or searching the literature. This is not a literature collection. This is not a SLR. This is not a particular way, and this will not lead to any particular destination at any particular aims. When we talk to SLR, then SLR simply means that SLR will guide us. SLR will stuck us to with the path towards the destinations, towards our aim. And this is the SLR which will guide us, which will navigate us through the path towards our destination, towards our aims, or towards our objectives. So whether SLR, if it is not systematic approach, if we are not following the certain methodology, definitely we would not be able to navigate the path, and we would not be able to reach the destinations where we have defined our aims or our objectives. So all we have to be careful about all these things, the points which we discussed. What is SLR? We identified the topic in a complete and in a comprehensive way. We evaluate the domains completely. We synthesize this topic domain, the literature, for any particular insight, evaluations, visualizations, etc., etc. And similarly, we must be biased, unbiased, in collection the literature. This biasness may be from the person, this biasness may be from any idea, but we have to avoid completely such like biasness if there we have some biasness there. And definitely the literature must be comprehensive. We have to prepare such like such string that we reach every topic in this particular domain. And definitely we have to follow any systematic approach to reach our destination. The next thing is that why SLR important. We know that SLR is very important because without investigating the literature, without reaching to the every paper, we would not be able to build any strong, sound foundations on which we are able to construct any other building, and on which we are going to form our own idea. As if when we construct any type of building, first we work on its strong foundations. So in the literature, in the research, in the scientific papers, we have to build some strong foundation, and this is the SLR which help us to build this strong foundation. So if the foundation is strong, definitely the building will be strong. There will be no hazards to the building. And the other thing with the literature is that we try to reach the every gap. So if you can understand, if you are not able to explore the every article, every case studies, or any other related project, you are missing something. Then definitely you will not be able to reach to every gap. And if you reach to every gap, you will still miss anything. If there is any other person discussing these gaps, or if there is any other person who has discussed these solutions, and you are still working on that, without investigating, without consulting the earlier works, and you proposed any some idea which can make to any other area, then definitely you work be useless. It will not worth anything. So definitely we will need to explore all the things in detail for the gaps, the potential area, and to explore all the relevant to build, so that we can build our idea, we can build our proposal on the strong foundations, on the strong relevant work. And definitely this will give a credibility to our work, to our idea, and our to our proposal. So if I summarize that what is SLR or what is systematic literature review, then we can summarize it in a one or two sentence. After conducting SLR, you must feel confident toward this topic. If you are called, if you are invited for any presentation, for any session or any conference, then you should go there confidently. And if there is any expert who is going to take any question and answer session with you, and then you go there with, with very confidently, because you know everything related to the SLR, related to the topic, sorry, and you know exactly that what is actually this particular topic. For example, if you are discussing the big data, then you exactly know that what is big data, how we define the big data, or how the literature or the market define the big data, and definitely what are its main domains, or the applications which is utilized, how this is further categorized, what are the limitations with this particular topic within the applications, what are the potential utilization, what are the potential solution to these problems, and what are the emerging trends, what are the future of this particular topic in the next coming few years. And definitely, if there is any technology, for example, if we discuss the big data, then big data depend on number of technologies, the cloud computing, the Spark, the Hadoop, the NoSQL databases. So big data depend on all these technologies. So we have to know all the technologies in which this particular topic, which we are going to explore, we have to know all these things in very detail. So if you don't feel confident related about related topic about, and you feel fear from the questions or any type of invitation from this particular topic, this means that you haven't investigated this topic in detail, you haven't reached to the depth of this topic. So you have to feel, you should feel, you must feel confident, and this confidence will show that you have explored everything related to this topic. As we discussed that the SLR depends on a specific rules, regulations, specific methodology, and specific phases which we follow during SLR conduction, during the literature collections. So what are these phases? These are actually 6 phases, and after discussing listing them, after that we will discuss every phase in very detail with examples, that how we should or how we must carry out this literature. I have published number of survey papers. One of my paper is published in Asian Computing Survey, whose impact factor is 16.6, and one of my papers is in productions with the artificial intelligence, whose impact factor is 12. So on the behalf of these papers, on the behalf of these experiences, I can say, or I can discuss that what are the rules, what are the methodologies, what was my way of working, what were my rule to conduct the SLR, to report the SLR, to visualize or tabulize the SLR, so that these papers can easily be published or they can avoid the disk rejections. So what are the 6 phases which we usually follow to conduct the SLR? The first one is the formulate research question. Definitely, research questions are very important. This is a blueprint. This is a navigator. This is a guide which take us towards the destinations. Actually, after that, the other phases which we defined after the research questions, these depend on the research question, because research question form the other phases. The research question actually guide, navigate the other phases. The second one is develop a search strategy. Search strategy means that what are the keywords which we will be using for our questions. We have a set of questions which we are going to investigate, which we are going to explore. So how we are going to put these research questions in a particular search string. Search string means that the sentences, the keywords which we are going to put in the Google search or any other library. So definitely our search string or the search strategy, this must be aligned with research question, so we may reach to accurate result, and this will avoid us to distract in the flood of the literature. The third one is the select a relevant literature. Select relevant literature means that if we search anything on the internet, then we get millions of results. And when we use the particular string after using the or, not, and operator, then we get thousands of results, 17 or 20,000 results. There may be 7 or 8,000 results. But the literature which we are going to report in our survey paper, in our thesis, or in our any scientific paper, these are 100, 150, or 200 papers. So selecting the 200 papers from thousands of papers, there must be any strategy, there must be any rule regulation, which is usually called inclusion and exclusion criteria. So we have to follow these inclusion and exclusion criteria to get only the top 200 papers. The fourth one is the extracting data. We read any paper, we have any form there. This form be maybe any Excel sheet, and we record all the data in this Excel form. For example, what are the contributions, what are the limitations, what are the technology they are using, what are the methodology they are using. So we discuss all these things details. We extract all this data in this particular Excel sheet. The fifth one is analyzing and synthesize this data. When we prepare any data collection form, this means that we have to use this form later on when we will complete our data collection for any particular insight, for any particular data categorization, for visualization, articulation, etc., or to summarize anything, and definitely to report all these literature. And definitely at the end, at the last phase, we report our finding. So these were the 6 phases which we follow during literature collection, during SLR, either it is for the for our proposal or thesis, or for any survey paper or any other scientific paper. So let's go towards our first phase, which is research questions. A research question is very important because these are the research questions which navigate us toward our aims and goals. If our research question is clear, everything will be clear. We can easily go towards our goals, towards our aims, towards our objectives. But if there is any issue with our questions, definitely there would be issues with our search string, there would be issues with our inclusion and exclusion criteria, and definitely this question will not be able to guide us toward the SLR. Let me show you, but first discuss that this question must be clear, and these have to specifically cover the population, the methodology, and the outcome. Population means the topic which we are going to discuss. For example, I am going to discuss the big data. The methodology means the techniques which are being used to analyze or process the big data. For example, this may be machine learning or the big data analytics, etc. And the outcome means that after processing this data or after processing this methodology, what we will get, what would be the result. For example, we analyze this data, the big data, for any healthcare system, for the smart healthcare, for the smart energy, for the smart education, for the smart cities, etc. Let's have a look some of the questions which I prepared for one of my research study. And after looking at these questions, after discussing these questions, you would be able to get a clear cut structure that how these research questions clearly represent your paper. Once you have a look on that, then you have a clear picture of the idea, you get the clear picture of the paper, that how this paper would be. It is just like a blueprint of your building. When you create any blueprint of any building, and when any architect see this, then a clear map, a clear house, a clear building is formed in his mind. Definitely, these research questions form a clear structure of the paper which you are going to investigate. Let's have a look on these questions. For example, the first one is, what are the prominent domains where big data applications have made a significant impact, and what are the key use cases within these domains? Actually, these are the two questions. This was one funded project, so I have to follow any particular or specific way. So, for example, the first one is that this research question actually investigate the big data prominent domains. We have to categorize the utilization of big data. For example, the big data in health, big data in education, big data in vehicular, big data in traffic, big data in advertisement, etc. Big data in the environment, in the geoinformation, etc. So it is categorizing. And definitely the second part of this question discusses the use cases of these domains where the big data is used and how this big data is used. The second one is, how has big data transformed decision making process in these domains? If we are using big data in healthcare, then how healthcare has been changed by the big data? So if we are using big data in education, then how the education is changed by the big data utilization? And definitely, if we are using big data in vehicles, autonomous vehicles, then how the autonomous vehicles decision making process, how their navigation system has been changed by utilization of this big data. The third question is, what are the challenges of and potentials associated with the big data in these applications? If we are using big data within the educations, what are the applications? Definitely we are using this for the personalized learning, we are using this for the more, we are using this for learning at analytics, etc. These are the potentials, these are the utilizations. But what are the issues? For example, the privacy is the issues. The handling the big data is also the issue. The network issues arises due to the educational big data. So we have to discuss all these things. Either these are the potentials or either these are the limitation. The fourth question is, what are the ethical and privacy concerns? Where we discuss the big data, we have to focus on the privacy concerns, because where is data, there is a privacy concerns, and particularly with the big data, it is damn necessary to discuss the privacy issues. So we are also discussing the privacy issues too. And the fifth question discuss what are the emerging trends and the big data application. We have to also discuss the emerging trends, the futures of the big data application. So after getting these five questions, you get a very clear picture, a very clear structure of the big data. For example, we are categorizing the big data, that big data in education, big data in smart cities, big data in health, big data in E, B, and C, D. After that, in the second layer, first layer is the big data, second layer is the big data domains, and in the third layer, we discuss the applications, utilizations, or limitations, and definitely, if there is any limitation, if there is any issues, then we discuss the solution. And definitely, after discussing these things, the limitation and solution for every domain, we discuss the privacy concerns. What are the privacy concerns with the educational big data? What are the privacy concerns with the healthcare big data? What is the privacy concern with the vehicular big data? What is the privacy concern with the urban big data? So we have to discuss in very detail these concerns. And at the end, at the last layer, we discuss that what are the future trends, what are the emerging trends of the big data in education and health and in vehicles, in urban development, etc. So these five questions get a clear structure that how we are going to explore, investigate, or how our papers will look. Definitely, when you are going to design, create your question, then you have to be careful. You must keep these questions in mind, that how these questions are actually created, and according to that, your question must be structured, must be formed, and they must present a very clear structure of the paper. So if your question is clear, as you can see there in the screen, then definitely you will be able to create or write a very sound paper, a very strong paper, and definitely it will be published in a very good impact factor journal. The second thing is the research methodology. Research methodology actually discuss that how we are going to put these research question into a particular search string. What will be our population, what will be our methodologies, and what would be our outcomes. And definitely after uh, deciding our population, deciding our methodology, deciding our methods, we use some and or not operators to combine these, and after that we search these things on the internet, on the different libraries. So you can see on the screen that how I use, uh, how I converted my research questions in a particular string to get the relevant literature. So have a look at this research methodology. There are three columns. The first one is the area. The second one is the keywords, which are the first keyword which we are searching, and the third one are the synonyms in the literature. Synonyms, because if we say that the data processing techniques, there's someone can write as a data analytics, someone can write the machine learning, and if we write a big data application, then someone may discuss in the healthcare. So he will say that the healthcare applications, the healthcare big data. Someone would be discussing in the cybersecurity. Someone would discuss this in education. So outcome means that what we are getting particularly. If you are discussing a big data in education, then smart educations is our outcome. So in the application, you can say that we are discussing actually a big data. So the synonym of a big data may be a earth big data, a vehicle big data, a healthcare big data, urban big data, industrial big data, or educational big data. And definitely we are discussing the data processing technique. The data processing technique means that this may be any data analytics, there may be any machine learning, or there may be any artificial intelligence. And if we are discussing the big data applications, and this may be smart healthcare system, this may be smart education, etc., etc. This actually discuss that what would be the outcome. So you can see that how I convert my research question, particularly in the form of the research methodology or research string, and we search the same thing. This will populate the relevant literature. This will save our time, and we would not be able to engage any type of papers, any type of research articles, use cases, or books, etc., or any chapter which are not related to our topic. So the next phase is inclusion criteria, selecting relevant literature. So to select the relevant literature, we have to discuss, we have to form any inclusion and exclusion criteria. When you form the research string, then this research string give you thousands of results, and without the search string you get millions and billions of results from the Google Scholar, etc. But when the search string, when you get a thousands of results, then we apply the inclusion and exclusion criteria to get only top 150 or 200 papers. and for that we defined the inclusion criteria, that how our paper should be to get the top quality paper. For example, we impose some restrictions on the period, that for example we are going to the top 5 years recent paper, or we impose some particular restrictions on the citation, that every paper must have 5 citations per year. And definitely if for example the title is discussing the keywords which we are searching, but there is nothing related in the body, then definitely we will exclude this paper, because this is not a quality paper, or this is not related. Or we can impose restriction that how their methodology should be formed, or how they should present their result. So if there is any paper where the title discuss the same thing, the same keywords, the abstract they discuss the same keywords, but in the body the methodology is not presented in a well manner, the results are not presented in a good manner, then we neglect, exclude such like papers. Let's have a look in my inclusion criteria, that how I define the inclusion criteria for my research question which we discussed earlier. My first restriction is relevant to big data applications. Big data may be discussed for a number of purposes. This can be discussed for the transmission issue, this can be discussed for the processing issues, this can be discussed for the storage issues, definitely. But what is my objective? Where I'm going to discuss the big data, I'm just discussing the big data for its applications, for its utilization. So the paper which are discussing the big data applications, I will include all that paper. On all the other papers which are discussing any other domain, any other thing of the big data, definitely I will not explore that, I will not look it at. The second one is the methodology and result presentation. I look that if the paper have used the same keywords in the title, in the abstract, but after getting the paper, after reading the paper, there is no such related results or the methodologies, then definitely I will exclude this paper. There is citation threshold, as I have applied a 5 citation or the 10 citation. 10 is a very massive number, it depends on your topic, that which topic you are going to explore. If you are going to discuss or explore and investigate in a new topic where there is very limited paper, very limited number of citations, so according to that you decide the number of citations and the period area. For example, here you can see that I have selected the paper which are published since 2018. And if there is any other field where there is a very limited paper, or this is not explored very well and massively, there is no massive writing on this topic, then definitely we can increase this period up to 10 years or any other, etc. The next phase is data collection form. Data collection form is the form where we will extract the data from the paper, from the selected paper, to any particular form. We select any paper according to our search string, according to our inclusion and exclusion criteria. Then we have to put all this data in one form, which are called the data collection form. Data collection form must be clear, and definitely it must include all the necessary field. So how you are going to know that what are your necessary fields? From your research questions, because these are the questions which navigate you, which guide you through your way towards your aim and objectives, towards your destinations. Your research questions will tell you that what you are going to look in this paper. For example, the limitation, the contribution, the methodology which is used, the categories, etc. Have a look on my form, the data collection form, that what I'm going to collect, and later on I will discuss that why I have included these columns or these fields, what are the importance of these fields. For example, the first one is the serial number. Definitely serial number is very important, because if you haven't cited yet, then this is the serial number which will distinct your paper from other paper. Paper title is very important. I also mentioned the category and subcategory. Definitely, if you are going to write the literature as survey paper, or you are writing the same literature, any thesis or any other scientific paper, then in some how you have to categorize these literature in categories, in subcategories. These categories actually help you to prepare the literature section, to divide your literature into paragraphs. So definitely this is the reason the category and subcategory helps. Category divide your literature into sections, and subcategory divide your literature into subsections or paragraphs. Problem addressed, it is very important that what actually they have addressed, what is the actual problem which they have investigated, what are the what are the main contributions, what are their main findings, because we have to discuss all these things in detail, that these were the problems, these were their findings, and on behalf of their problems and their findings, we are working in this area. Methodology is very important, because some type or somewhere we discuss the methodology, and we have to select the literature, categorize the literature on the behalf of the methodology which is used. Study limitation is also very important, because we have to discuss all these things in detail, that if we are going to cite any literature, any article, then we have to mention that what are the main limitation with this idea, and what is the reason that we are going towards the next idea. To prove our thing, to prove our idea, we have to use their contributions, their paper limitation as a step. And similarly, your citation count, link to the paper, the type of the paper, the bib reference, these are also very important, because for example, let me give you example of the bib reference. You have collected 200 papers, and you haven't collected the data of the bib reference. Then that in the next phase is reporting, and when you go to write your paper in the latex or overleaf, etc., and you haven't collected the bib reference. So this means that once again you have to go to the Google Scholar to put the title there or link there, and after that collecting their bib reference. Definitely this would be headache, this will take a time, and you and definitely you would not be able to do that later on. This will waste your time, this will demoralize you. Similarly, if you have divided or categorized the fields, the columns, you have collected the data, you have spent months on that, you collected 200 or 300 research article there, but after that you notice that you have missed this column, you have to collect the data for this field. So definitely this will demoralize you, this will waste your time, and you will not be able to collect the particular field. Before going to design your fields, create your fields, the table, the form where you are going to collect your data, you must be very careful that what you are going to collect, what is your main purpose, and how you are going to collect this data. The next phase is analyze and synthesize data. Analyze and synthesize data, that we analyze this data for the quantitative parameters, for the qualitative parameters. We visualize this data, for example, the structure, the substructure, and we discuss the limitations in the paper, what are the main contributions of the paper, and definitely we discuss the application, challenges, and the future. So let's have a look in my paper, that how actually I synthesize or how I actually report my paper. For example, you can say that big data applications. In the big data application, you can see that I have categorized the big data in the categories of healthcare, supply chain, marketing and advertisement, smart cities, media and entertainment, cybersecurity, climate and earth sciences, industry, and education. So if you see in the form that I asked for two informations, two type of categories, the category and the subcategories. And from this visualization, from this graph, you can see that what was the purpose of these fields. Actually, I used these fields to make this graphical presentation. So instead of reading all the paper of 30 or 40 pages or the literature of 30 or 40 pages, the reader can get the insight, the reader can get the idea from only one figure. And we also know that one figure is equal to 1000 words. So this idea exactly sat there, this idea exactly described there, that why we visualize the data here. And the category and subcategories is also very clearly explored. Big data application, simple, the first column explored the first categories, and the second, the subcategories categorize the data in of the any particular healthcare. For example, healthcare big data is divided into hospitals data, telehealth data, pharmaceutical research, etc., etc. So in the next table, you can see a comprehensive summary of publication organized by year and category since 2018. Because I was collecting data from 2018 onward, so I have to present all this data in the form of table. That how many papers were actually published in any particular year and in a particular category. So this is the table where we can say, for example, in the healthcare, total 18 papers were published. According, there may be hundreds and thousands of papers, but according to our according to our protocols, according to our methodology, according to our inclusion criteria, according to our search string, there are total 18 papers. And then these 18 papers, four were published in 18, five were in 19, three were in 2020, one was in 2021, three were in 2022, and the two papers were in 2023. So the years and the citations and the categorizations also help us to summarize these inside these literature in the form of this table. So you can see that how actually this literature help us to prepare our survey paper or to prepare our literature section. So if you have collected the data, you have collected the literature in a well manner, you can create a very high impactful paper, a very sound paper, and I don't think there may be any issues in its publications and or its rejection. But the thing is that you are following the systematic way, the rules and the principles and the methodologies which are defined in a very clear way, and you are collecting this data according on the behalf of this system which you have defined. And definitely you are clearly categorizing, tabularizing, visualizing, and summarizing this data. So if you are doing all these things in a clear way, then definitely your paper will be published in a very good impact factor journal. In the next table, you can see that we have summarized the main contributions and the main limitations. In the form, you saw that we categorized the data, and after categorizations, we discussed the main contributions and main limitation of this paper. Because if we are going to discuss any gaps, then we have to get the gaps from these papers. And definitely if we are going to defend some solution for these gaps, then we have to go toward these papers and we have to cite these papers. So in this table you can see that what are the main contributions and what are the limitations of these papers and these ideas. Next, see, when we were discussing the categories and its subcategories, then you can see that how I visualize this data. In the first, I visualize the whole picture, the complete picture of big data applications. But in this figure, you can see that I visualize the categorizations of big data in healthcare, in education, in smart cities, in vehicles, etc. For example, in the big data and health, we can see that we discuss the patients data, the telehealth data, the data related to the diseases, the data which are used for the research, the data which is generated are used for the pharmacy, and definitely the data which is generated are used by the Internet of Medical Things. To defend our literature or to defend our SLR, or particularly if you are submitting a survey paper to any journal, then definitely we have to take any comparative analysis that how our paper is good, novel, comparatively to the paper, the survey papers which were published in last few years. So you have to prove these things. And the table which you can see, this will clearly show that how your paper is superior, how your paper is now novel, and how it is good or sound comparatively to other papers. You can see I have defined a very clear criteria, the criteria which I have sampled from C1 to C13. This means that there's actually a 13 criterions. The first criterion is addressing challenges frame of the big data. Actually, more of the studies discuss these. They discuss the challenges, they discuss the main contributions of the future trends, but they take any specific way, specific domains, for example discussing these things in education, discussing these things in the healthcare. So to give a novelty to my paper, I have explored all these things which give a novelty to my paper. So these, from these insights, from these stabilization, from these visualization, and from these summarizations, you can get any idea that why the table was very important, why the farm was very important, and which we were collecting a data. So if you are going to miss anything in these tables, in the forms, you will not be able to prepare a such like visualization, tabulizations, or summarizations which get acceptance from the reviewers at the editorial boards. You know, in today's words, everything depends on the artificial intelligence, particularly the generative artificial intelligence, and the reviewers, the editors thinks that the authors may use the artificial intelligence. So if you are just writing just like a generative AI, then definitely your paper would not be accepted. You have to present your paper in a such a way that the reviewers, the editorial board may get an idea that this work is done by a human being, not by any artificial intelligence robot, not by any chatbot. So to present your data in a such a form, you have to put your hard work. You have to explore a comprehensive literature. I'm not going to. I will clear one thing here, that artificial intelligence or the generative AI is nothing comparative to the scholar which is exploring the systematic literature review, because the AI is getting the same things from any blogs, etc., and from the same topic you are exploring the scientific papers, the thousands of scientific papers, particularly the top 150 or 200 papers. So, how the generative AI can generate a better insight from you? It is not possible if you have studied comprehensively, if you have explored comprehensively your topic. So, if generative AI is generating better content than you, this means that you haven't explored your topic, you haven't explored your idea, and you need to work in further investigations, in further explorations. The day when you felt that the generative AI is generating wrong results, they generate fat results, their results are useless, then you can see that, then you can say, or you can observe, then your knowledge, your analysis, your insights are much better than the generative AI. Generative AI is a tool. You can use this for this generative as a tool. For example, I use this for the language. English is not my first language. I usually use this, the Grammarly or another tool, to check my language, or sometimes to rephrase my words. But this doesn't mean that I have to use AI to generate my content, because as a researcher, I am the researcher. I'm exploring my topic. I'm looking at every domain, every categorizations, every person, every blog, every technology, every methodology. Then how the AI can generate a better result than me? So definitely you have to more knowledge than any AI algorithm. And at the last, we report the findings. Definitely, if we have the table, we have summarized the findings, we have visualized this data, we have tabularized this data, then definitely this is a very easy way to report our data. And we have to be careful that how we are going to report our data, how we are going to structure to report this data. This will also matter. The structure is very important. Last time I was writing one paper, actually this was a project where I was discussing the emerging technologies for disaster management. So the first structure which I made, and I worked on that for 1 month. So in that, at that time, I was focusing on the disaster, I was focusing on the emergencies, and the emerging technologies were deemed, they were passive. But after 1 month, after writing a lot, I noticed that I have to focus on emerging technologies. I have to bring forward the emerging technologies, and these emerging technologies should be discussed in different type of emergencies. So this gave a very bitter, a better, a very charming look to my paper. So you have to decide that how you are going to present your data, how you are going to structure your data. So it was all about the SLR, that what is SLR, why is it important, and what are these phases. I will summarize in few minutes that what is SLR. I will summarize the SLR in few words, that you are feeling so confident regarding your topic, regarding your domain, that you are not worrying for any type of presentations, any type of conferences, any type of seminars, and you are feeling confident if there is any other expert who interview you, who investigate you for these topics, for these research on the stage. If you are feeling the same confident, definitely you have explored this topic very well. The second thing is that you are not using generative AI to get some content, and you feel that the content generated by the AI is useless, this is a baseless, then you can say that your knowledge, your investigations, your explorations is very better, and it is matching the requirement. Your SLR must be comprehensive, this must be unbiased, and there must be any systematic approach to investigate these things. So what were the phases? The first phase was formulate research questions. These are very important because these are the research questions which will guide you throughout your way, throughout your view towards the destinations, towards your aims, towards your objectives. I discussed in very detail my research questions for my paper, and you saw that how this structure clearly present, how this question clearly present the structure of my data, how this clearly visualize the paper which I will have in the future. You have to develop a search strategy. This will also be very clear. Let's discuss the keywords which we usually use to search the paper on the internet, and these research questions are must be aligned with the research question. This will save our time to explore or to investigate the things which are not related. And similarly, select relevant studies. We have to use some inclusion and exclusion criteria, because when we search anything on the internet, then it populate millions and billions of results. But when we use any search string by using the and or not operator, then we get in the result in the thousand. This may be any 20, 10, or 7,000 results, but it doesn't mean that we are going to explore all the 7,000 results. We have to use some inclusion criteria, that because we have to select the top 150 or 200 papers, and for that we clearly explain the time for which we are going to collect the data, the citations, the quality of the paper, etc. And definitely we discuss the extracted data, the forms where we extract the data, and this form should be clearly structured, clearly formed, because if you extracted all the data for 200 papers and after that you feel that there must be any other field there, you have missed anything, then at that time where you are going to report the things, where you are going to report your findings, then you would not be able to reinvestigate all these 200 papers. This will demoralize you. This will drastically decrease the quality of your paper. So the extracting data forms should be clearly designed. This should must be clearly investigated. And after that we analyze and synthesize data. We must be careful that how we can categorize this literature, how the categories can be discussed, how can we visualize this data, because visualization play a very good role. For example, as you saw that I categorize my literature. To get this idea which I presented in my one figure, the reader have to read all the paper of 30 and 40 pages, which is not possible. So I use this visualization, and definitely you have to tabulize your data. Where you put your data in a tabular form, because this tabular form help the readers to get clear insights from the tables instead of reading all the text. And if they sat there and read all the text in from the paper, from the pages, then at the end they will not be able to get a clear idea as they get the idea from the visualizations or from the tabulization, etc. And similarly, at the end, we discuss the reporting, that how we are going to report our literature, how we are going to report our survey, our literature. As I discussed, that I categorize one of my paper, emerging technologies in emergency management system. I worked for 1 month, but after that, because in the 1 month I categorize my literature by uh, emergencies, by the disaster. But after 1 month I noticed that I have to categorize, or I have to focus on the emerging technologies. So I took the emerging technologies to the first, and the disaster to the second. So this layer structure make this paper very sound and very beautiful. So you must be careful in that too. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope after watching this video and after that the paper, particularly the survey paper you are going to write, then this paper will be very sound, very beautiful, and this will get acceptance. Thank you so much for watching.